Hello, everyone. My name is Zach LeBlanc. Welcome to the first episode of the Full Court Breakdown podcast. I'm extremely excited to be here. I'm Zach LeBlanc. I am the owner of the Full Court Breakdown TikTok account, which has about 4,000 followers. And here in this podcast, we're going to be talking about basketball mainly, some NFL, sports as a whole, but a specific focus in those two. And today we're going to talk a lot about NBA opening night. Happened last night. Rockets. I've got a big take with Rockets and their use of Kevin Durant last night. There was something that I watched throughout the game that I honestly thought is something that needs to be addressed, specifically when it comes to the reason why the Rockets got Kevin Durant. We're looking at the Celtics and Sixers, a little preview here for their opening day game tonight. And then on top of that, a segment here that we'll do weekly, the full court lock of the day, where I'll be sharing my bets and an opportunity because it's 2025. Who doesn't sports bet? So you'll have an opportunity to hear what I'm going with, my analysis behind it. So I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. Welcome to the show, everyone, and let's get it. So kicking things off, the Rockets and OKC last night, a massive game. OKC raising their banner to the fans. Tremendous coverage, I just want to say, to start off by NBC. And comparatively to TNT, who they're primarily replacing this year, I thought NBC did an amazing job. You can tell that the real difference between TNT and NBC is that TNT's main part of their production and broadcast was the inside the studio crew, whereas with NBC, I felt a lot more informed. I felt more ready for the game. I mean, it even goes to the fact that last year, TNT panned to commercial when the Celtics were raising their banner up into the rafters, whereas last night it was a full-on presentation. It was dedicated to OKC. It felt extremely personal. It's because once a year a team raises a banner. It's an opening night festivity. It's kicking off the new NBA season. It's something that should be, you know, the gold standard for every broadcast crew is to talk about this on opening night. And so I thought NBC did a tremendous job at it. Now getting into the game, this was fantastic way to start off the season. I mean, already could be the game of the year, and we're had two games in. The Rockets OKC battle in a double overtime thriller. Once again, final score 125 OKC to Houston 124. Double overtime. SGA to me was unconscious in this one, and it wasn't easy for him. It started off slow. We know what Rockets can bring defensively, whether it's Amen or Josh Okogie, who I thought was great. They got some good minutes out of him. Jabari Smith Jr. And so SGA, who started this game very slow, 5 points in the first half. You knew he was going to wake up though. And so the second half, 35 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds to finish the game as well. And the big thing for me that stood out was down the stretch. He was, just clinical. It was a shooting performance put on by him, and no one could stop him. Reed Shepard, I thought, the play that SGA had on him, where he sort of crossed to the right and made a little hesitation move, went back to the left, and then just bodied into Shepard, made enough space for the mid range. I thought it's just classic SGA of how he uses his body and control and balance and everything. And every shot it felt like he took down the stretch was going to go in. And ultimately, that's what you should expect from him. He's coming off, one of the greatest seasons ever for a point guard. He's won the Finals MVP. He's a tremendous player in the defensive end, and we're just talking about him offensively. But what he also brought to the table defensively last night was amazing. But down the stretch, he was physically unconscious. It didn't matter whether it was Jabari, Amen. We talked about Reed Shepard, Josh Okogie. He still got to his spots, and he found opportunities to take care of the basketball late in game. And he hit big shots. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for out of your player. On the other end, Alperen Sengun, talk about a breakout game for him. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was almost Jokic-esque, the fact that he had 5 threes. Sengun, if he can hit threes consistently at this rate, then Sengun's going to have a tremendous year, a big breakout year. Obviously last year, first time All-Star, but last night, 39 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds, and like I said, 5 3-pointers. That's just a huge deal to the Rockets, especially coming off last year, where the offense struggled. They were stagnant at times. and Sengun really lifted them throughout this game. I thought the fact too they were going to him a lot in the clutch, late game situations. He had multiple shots to take the lead. Did miss a big free throw late in the game, but at the same time, SGA missed a couple big free throws, and also Durant missed one. So was kind of a common trend throughout the game. But Sengun is going to be a factor. I mean, there's not many guys in the league who can put up 39, 5, 7, and 5 threes. I mean, outside of him, Jokic, you know, occasionally Wemby could do that, but there's not many guys in the league who can do that. Cat maybe, but I don't know if Cat has the playmaking ability. So there's not many guys who can do this. Specifically to his playmaking, I think is what separates him. It's what separates Jokic, obviously. The fact that he's 6'10" and has such a big triple double factor. It's the same thing with Sengun, and especially without Fred Van Fleet for the rest of the year, Sengun's going to have to operate a lot of that point guard responsibility. We saw Reed Shepherd playing some good spurts, but late in the game, especially when Amen Thompson went out with a calf cramp in the overtime and in the second overtime, I thought Sengun really took over that game for the Rockets. Now, someone who did not take over that game in the way that I expected them to, especially on a night where he's coming back to his former franchise, the night where they're raising their banner, where everything is important. You even had former Thunder players, Jeff Green, standing out there, Steven Adams watching the banner ceremony. Because you could tell tonight had a little bit of extra juice in it, especially for a guy like Kevin Durant, who's making his debut with a new team, a team that specifically sought out for him because they needed help on the offensive end. We saw how they lost to Golden State last year. They simply could not put up enough points, and whether that was because Jalen Green and his inefficiencies, or the offense as a whole, which got stagnant. And I'll give credit, I love Ime Udoka. I think he's one of the best coaches in the league. But I will say his offensive side is definitely not as good as his defensive side. We saw it with the Celtics. They had a tremendous defense. I mean, one of all-time historical defenses, but offensively, that team was stagnant at times. And whether it's a situation of personnel or just his system totally is, I mean, still up for question. We have to see what happens with Durant. But what I saw from Kevin Durant last night, to me, was concerning. And I don't mean concerning for the whole year, but I thought Houston had a real good opportunity to win that game. But Kevin Durant was just passive throughout the night. He had 47 minutes, definitely up there for his age, but obviously double overtime plays a big factor into that. He was 9 for 16 from the field. So efficient shooting wise, but some turnovers in there. He had 23 points in total that he ended the night with after fouling out in double overtime. But I thought this game pointed out the glaring issue, and my biggest concern for Houston is without Fred Van Fleet, how does this team get Kevin Durant the basketball? I mean, Reed Shepherd, there's multiple occasions in the game where either it's Reed Shepherd, Sengun, they're trying to force some sort of action for Durant, and they physically cannot get him the basketball. He was brought to this team for the specific reason that he can score. They needed a guy to go to. And to me, it felt like, he did a lot more time in the corner, just standing there, watching, looking on the perimeter. They tried to run something for him. He couldn't get the ball, so he'd run away. And ultimately, OKC, I mean, that's how they wanted to play. OKC did everything they could to not let Kevin Durant get the ball. Whether it was Cason Wallace, Lou Dort defending him, they were heavily guarding him, denying him the ball. But at the end of the day, he's Kevin Durant. What other defense is going to play him that way? He's one of the best scorers in the game, and I understand at his age, he's declining. But from the Rockets' standpoint, you went out and got him for this reason. So in late games, you have a guy that you can go to, a number one option, somebody that you are not afraid to give the basketball. And of course, people are going to say, well, that's how OKC played him. They didn't want Kevin Durant to have the basketball, and I understand that. But like I said, you got him for this reason, so you're gonna have to find ways to give him the ball. I would trust Kevin Durant to take a shot at the end of the game. It doesn't matter how he takes a shot. The main goal is that you give him a chance to get a shot. I want Kevin Durant to take the last shot for me, and they needed opportunities to get him the ball, whether it's running more actions for him. It felt like a lot of the time Durant was simply at the top, or it was just a little pick and pop. They need to find ways, whether it's off-ball screens, just actions to get him the basketball, ways to put him in the action force the defense to do things. Because if OKC is going to play that aggressive, you're going to draw two. You're going to have opportunities where Durant's going to be able to rise and fire over guys like Dort and Wallace, who, albeit they're great defenders, but they are not as tall as Kevin Durant. So he has the ability to shoot over them, especially Durant 0 for 4 from 3 in this game, but he was surgical in the mid range. I mean, it was beautiful, and that's why I wish Houston gave him the ball more, because I really would have loved to see Kevin Durant take this game over. It felt like he was letting things come to him, but I really wanted to see a stretch, and specifically in the fourth quarter, where Durant had, maybe 5, 10, 11 straight, something where Durant just kind of took the game over, and that's what was missing for Houston after they led by about 10 in that third quarter, and OKC rallied back. Houston needed another run, and to me, it felt like they were more just holding on the entire game rather than being the ones in control. Ultimately, too, I think this is a big reflection of what the Rockets need. They need some desperate playmakings, or at least someone to step up. Reed Shepard last night, obviously. Houston drafted him last year, and he got some big minutes last night. 9 points, 3 for 11 from the field, 2 for 7 from three. Obviously, his main goal there is to stretch the floor. But he's not a long-term answer as a playmaker. I think one guy that just immediately comes to my mind when you think about playmakers or point guards who are in the trade discussion every year is Dennis Schroeder, especially with the Kings just signing Russell Westbrook. Schroeder's a guy who's under contract, 3 year, $45 million, that Houston could bring in later in the year, closer to the deadline. Schroeder's always available. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there for the Rockets. And someone too who has a little bit of familiarity with the organization after Schroeder was traded there from Boston in 2022, a part of the Daniel Tice trade. So definitely some opportunities for Houston to get better. I mean, I liked what I saw out of them. Um, but still, I think Kevin Durant needs the basketball. And at the end of the day, if Kevin Durant is taking a shot with the game on the line, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I want Durant to be the guy. I want him to be the guy, and I will live and die by it, by all means, because that is what Houston got him for. They traded for him for that exact reason. And so, if I have Kevin Durant on my team and I gave up these assets for him, I'm going to use him to the full stability, and ultimately, that's was my biggest concern with the Rockets in this one, in their loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Double overtime again, 125, 124. All right, moving on to the Lakers and the Warriors also kicked off things last night. Golden State with a complete rout of the Lakers, 119 to 109, but that didn't really reflect the score. It was a massive third quarter by Golden State. They really took the game kind of out of control, the Lakers, and Luka really kept the Lakers alive, and at 40 points in this one, assists shy of a 40-point triple double. I mean, he's special. We know what he is, and you could tell by just watching that game and the way that he played that even when Golden State was going on that run, you could tell Luka wasn't going to allow them, to just get fully blown out, extend that run. There was opportunities for the Lakers where they really cut back into that game, but ultimately, it really wasn't enough. And I thought Jimmy Butler, to me, stood out in this one. He ate at the free throw line, 16 for 16, finished the night with 31 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, an all-around night for Butler, and that's what they're going to need from him. If Golden State wants to make a title run, I mean that's why they got him last offseason, was to add another pair, another guy to Steph and Draymond, and they bring in Al Horford, and I just love so much the two-man game with Al Horford and Steph Curry, whether it's the on-ball pick and roll, on-ball pick and fade, or even off-ball, because you have to think about both. You have to think about Steph as a shooter, you have to think about Al Horford as a shooter, so it takes a lot of discipline as a defense, and that's something Golden State's going to use all throughout the year. Jonathan Kuminga, too, I thought he was actually great in this game for Golden State, specifically in their third quarter run. And so it was great to see him make an impact in a game like this where, after all, off-season, I mean, the whole contract situation was dragged out. It was simply too long, and I understand why both sides did it. But at the end of the day, it was too long. It was too long. It felt like almost one of those things where you almost kind of forget about it. And going into the season when media day got near, it's sort of like, all right, is anything gonna happen? And so I'm glad they resolved it, and he showed out tonight. Steve Kerr put him in the starting lineup. No Al Horford in the starting lineup. Kerr already said they want to keep him to around 20 minutes a night, so expect Al Horford to really be rested throughout this regular season. I think they sort of know that at this point in Horford's career, his value comes in the playoffs, and he's got to have fresh legs to do that. But Jonathan Kuminga, huge piece in the Warriors' third quarter run, 4 for 6 from three, I think is the big thing. And Kuminga can play consistently on this team if he can space the floor. I mean, ultimately, if you want to play in Steve Kerr's system, you've got to be able to space the floor, especially at the wing position. And so if Jonathan Kuminga is going to make those shots and take his game to the next level, then by all means, I mean, he could be a tremendous asset to this team. I also like Steve Kerr giving him the start because we've seen that rift through them in the past couple of years of whether, does Kerr want Kuminga? Does Kuminga want to be there? And so it was nice to see him start, play 33 minutes, make a big impact on the game, specifically in that run. Overall, he shot 6 for 11, had 17 points, and 6 assists and 9 rebounds. So Kuminga really did everything for Golden State, and it was more of an all-around game where he showcased what he can do outside of scoring. And once again, if you want to play in Steve Kerr's system, that's the best way to do it. I mean, you got to do everything. That's why a guy like Jimmy Butler, who can pass the ball, rebound, but if they need him, he can come out on a night like this and score 31 points and put such a pressure on the paint where he's getting to the line 16 times. So Kuminga can be valuable, extremely valuable asset for this team. And if he can space the floor, he should continue to start for this team. I don't see why not. He's a talented player. And at the end of the day, if Golden State really doesn't want him, if they don't view him as a long-term asset, a part of their team, then still we've seen out there are suitors for him. They obviously did not want what Golden State was going to give, or excuse me, they did not want the trade package that would have involved Kuminga. We saw the Kings interested, some other teams in the offseason. But ultimately, I think he's in a good spot right now in Golden State, and they'll hold on to him up until the trade deadline. Obviously, things will change then. A team could be in need of a young wing, and Kuminga may play himself into a good opportunity to get a fresh start. But ultimately, now, I mean, if you're Jonathan Kuminga, he's doing the right thing. Played extremely well last night, played hard. And once again, the thing that really stands out to me was the ability to space the floor. 6 assists, 9 rebounds, just doing the little things that on a team where you have Steph Curry, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, you need a guy who can come out here and do those things. So that was big for me when it came to the Jonathan Kuminga. Furthermore, in this game, I thought the Marcus Smart experience was just on full display for the Lakers. 23 minutes for Smart in this one, over 3 from 3, 9 points, 4 fouls. It was just the full Marcus Smart experience. I mean, there was a stretch in this game where he spent more time on the ground in a 5 minute span than on. I mean, trust me, he was on the floor. He was drawing fouls, causing fouls. He was down on the ground, grabbing his ankle, doing things. But I mean, it was the full Marcus Smart experience. And as someone who's a Celtics fan who appreciates what Smart did here, it is interesting watching him in other uniforms, obviously, whether it's Memphis or Washington or now the Lakers, because he isn't what he is when he was with the Celtics, and that's obviously a product of being in different systems, bouncing around, his health, and so the Marcus Smart experience at this point is it's funny. It's almost as if you're watching young Marcus Smart again from someone who's watched Smart for majority of his career as a Celtics fan, and it just feels like this it feels like almost reminiscent of Smart up until before 2020, where you don't know what you're going to get out of him every night. He's going to have some really high highs, but he's also going to have some really low lows, and he caused some, offensive fouls in this game, but at the same time, he drew some offensive fouls, and I think it's a good reflection of the Lakers' experience this year as well, because as my friend John put it, who I'd love to have on this show at some point, he said it last night watching the game. The Lakers, they have a high ceiling, but an extremely low floor. And so we've already seen LeBron's out. Can Luka carry this team? I thought DeAndre Ayton didn't do much last night. And so the Lakers, a lot of things have to go right for them to be a very good team, but it's possible. I could 100% see it, but I could also see them not being good. I mean, it depends. How much is LeBron going to play? He's had injury problems in the past. How much is Luka going to play? He's had injury issues in the past couple of years. Ayton, is he going to excel? And also, is he going to play himself too? He's had injury issues in the past. Smart, who we just talked about, he's had injury issues. So a lot of things have to go right. And I'm someone that does believe in JJ Redick. I think Redick has a good understanding of the modern NBA. But at the same time, I do have a little bit of concern because I was high on JJ Redick last year, but going into that playoff series against Minnesota, the Lakers were they were completely outplayed. The fact that they lost that series in 5 games, I thought that was a series that they should have won. They should have beat Minnesota, but Redick ultimately was outcoached. Credit to Chris Finch, who's an up and coming coach in this league. I mean, the fact that bringing to Minnesota back to back conference championships is amazing, but Redick was outcoached in that one, and so a lot is going to have to go right for the Lakers. I mean, we saw last night. Luka, almost an assist shy of a 40-point triple double, and still the Lakers lose by 10. 119 to 109 was the final score, and it should have been a blowout. The Lakers really covered it up at the end. They made a little bit of a run at the end of the third and into the fourth, but ultimately, this was not a competitive game from the Lakers, and they're going to need more, just much more, and it'll help. Obviously, LeBron will come back, but the big thing for me. Um, was simply this perimeter defense sucks. Outside of Marcus Smart, who's defending on the perimeter, Ayton was nothing special. 10 points, 6 rebounds, and all. I mean, Draymond guarding him. He was in his head all night. When Ayton took that little, I caught the ball on the left elbow and one dribble sort of fade over Draymond. I just knew he was forcing shots at that point because Draymond was in his head, and so ultimately I thought it was a pretty big disgrace for the Lakers. I mean, that was a brutal game last night, and yeah, they need LeBron back. Luka can't do it all on his own, and so we'll see. This is a team that, like I said, they could win 45 to 50 games, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they were 135 and were a play-in team. So a lot of variance for the Lakers. I think they'll be a great team to follow this season. I mean, any team with LeBron and Luka, of course, is a great team to follow. And it's the Lakers, their storied franchise, but they'll be an interesting team to watch this year. All right, so moving on, the Celtics and the Sixers open tonight at TD Garden. Tip-off slated for 7:30, but we all know how the NBA works. 7:30 means that this game is probably going to tip off a little bit closer to 7:45, which I still don't understand. I still don't get why the NBA does this. I mean, the NFL, if kickoff is at 1 o'clock, if the kickoff happens at 1:02, it's a two minute shift. Whereas the NBA, you gotta wait 15 minutes just for the game to start. It's horrible. But that's we'll touch more into that another day. But Boston opening as 2-point favorites over the Sixers. Jaylen Brown comes into this one questionable, but he did practice all day yesterday. Brown, of course, missed the end of the preseason game, their Boston's finale against Toronto, with grabbing at his hamstring, but he didn't seem too concerned about it. And the fact that he went through practice yesterday, I think, is enough. It's more just they're put him on the injury report already for Philadelphia. It starts. Paul George, of course, as we know, he's out, still rehabbing from that knee injury. Jared McCain's still out from the thumb surgery, and Trenton Watford, who's actually a good piece coming in from Brooklyn that who previously played at Portland as well. I thought that was a good pickup for the Sixers, another wing, but he's also out. So injuries bug already begins for Philadelphia, as we know. For the Celtics, I think this is obviously a good opportunity for both teams. This is two teams that could finish right around each other in the standings. I mean, late in the year we could be talking about a couple wins separating these two teams, and it's a tremendous challenge for, I think, Boston specifically because of Joel Embiid being healthy, and how do you play him with your new big man rotation? So for the Celtics, I think the locks to start are Pritchard, White, and Brown. I think the combination of those three are 100% going to get the start. Now, the big question is who rounds out the last two spots in that front court, and I think it's any three of Kata, Boucher, and Hauser. I think the three of them are going to round out the starting five in some way. Hauser, of course, I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head, but when he starts, the Celtics are some crazy record, I think it's 30-8, something along those lines. So Hauser is a great track record in the starting lineup. But what stood out to me was the preseason finale where they started both Boucher and Kata together. I think that's definitely a possibility tonight. With Joel Embiid, it puts more size on the floor. Obviously, you're going to have less shooting, but I think at the same time, they feel comfortable with Boucher's ability to stretch the floor. And at the end of the day, I mean, the Sixers are centric around Joel Embiid. So if you can stop them, if you can stop Joel Embiid, I'm okay with Derek White going out to guard Tyrese Maxey or Jaylen Brown trying to guard Kelly Oubre. I'm okay with those one-on-one matchups if you're going to stop Embiid. Outside of the double bigs, though, I'd expect a lot more smaller lineups for when Embiid's specifically off the floor. I mean, the Celtics are already going to have to play small. So, for example, I could see Tillman out there as a small ball five. Um, I mean, just opportunities to create more threes. We've seen Missoula want to play fast, and so the Celtics obviously, without floor spacing bigs, they're gonna have to play smaller regardless. And so we could see, that Brown and Hauser lineup, like I mentioned, where Hauser's that small forward and Brown's the small ball power forward. The Celtics, they obviously want to push the pace. I think no Tatum sort of plays into that because you're gonna have to get points anyways. You're gonna have to build up and sort of succumb what Jason Tatum isn't going to be here for. And so that's a lot of points. That's a lot of 3-point attempts. That's a lot of assists. I think guys are going to have to push the pace in this game. We've seen the Celtics already do it so far throughout preseason. That's what they're sort of emphasizing. And ultimately, I think the Celtics are going to win this one tonight. I like what I see out of them so far in the preseason. We still don't know what Philly is. We still don't know how good they'll be. Nick Nurse, I think, has a lot of questions around him, and this is a good opportunity for the Sixers to make some noise, obviously. A year sort of succumbed and away from whatever that disastrous was last year. But I do think the home court advantage sort of boosts the Celtics in this one. And I really expect White and Brown, specifically in this one, to play well. No Tatum is just going to open up a boatload of opportunities for them. And not just scoring, but I think as playmakers as well. White, in the first preseason game, had a 10 assist. Um, Without Tatum, there's someone's gonna have to make plays for the Celtics and spread the ball out. And so White and Brown are gonna be the two guys, especially. I mean, they're already solid playmakers enough. White's definitely better than Brown, but we saw in the playoffs last year, Jaylen Brown, 12 assists in that game 5 without Tatum against the Knicks. He can do it. It's just a question of how consistent. And as a number one option now, he's gonna face those double teams. He's gonna have to pass the ball. He's gonna have to make plays. And so it's a great learning opportunity for Jaylen Brown. A great opportunity for him to get better. And same thing with Derek White. So I like Boston in this one. Ultimately, I think this is a great game. This is a great way to start the year. I'm excited for it, as any Celtics fan should be, as any NBA fan should be. So I'm excited. Hopefully, the Celtics win tonight. We'll have to see. We'll re-talk about Boston next week. But let's kick it into the full court locks section of today's episode. The full court locks is a weekly segment where we'll be talking about some bets that I like to highlight for the NBA tonight. Something that we'll do weekly. I mean, it'll evolve throughout the season, and we'll see what sort of goes through and how it ultimately goes. But I'm excited. This is the first week. We'll be keeping track of our picks here, and each pick will be supported by my personal analysis, whether it's stats, feelings, opinions. I think a big part of betting is also the storyline around it. So let's start things off here. Norman Powell to record 19.5 points assist in 5 preseason games. Powell averaged 26.7 points, 4 assists as well. And no Tyler Hero in this one. Powell's going to take over a lot of not only that scoring, but also that playmaking that Hero would have done as the primary ball handler and point guard for this team. So I think I had a lot of opportunity for Norman Powell in this one, especially coming on a new team. He could realistically get the 19.5 just based on points alone. So I think a good opportunity for Powell. He's playing in a new system, obviously, but at the end of the day, especially with no Tyler Hero, he's the number one option on this team. So I'm excited to see what Norman Powell does tonight. And I think it's a great pick. Secondly, my bet number 2, player that I love, Kawhi Leonard over 23.5 points. Kawhi obviously back. Most he's played in a preseason game in a long time. I mean, Kawhi Leonard, he played 27 minutes and 11 seconds, and I believe it was their second preseason game, which is the most he's played in a preseason game since 2016. So, and he looked good in preseason. His 3-ball looked great. So even too, if you want to take, for example, Kawhi, 1.5 threes, I think that's another great bet, actually. Because his shot, if you go to his preseason tape, he looked great shooting the ball. He's still Kawhi Leonard at the end of the day. Obviously, he's 34, but this is coming into a season. This is the most healthy he's looked. It's the most healthy he's been. And I think the Clippers, obviously, with the new talent that they acquired this year, they're going all in. Kawhi knows it's not an 82 game season for him. He knows he's not going to play 82 games anymore. But opening night, he's looked good so far. He's especially too, it's a good opportunity to take advantage of what might be the healthiest Kawhi is throughout the year on opening night, because by the time we get to game 82, we don't know how healthy he will be. So I think it's a good opportunity to invest early, get in early on Kawhi, and take what we can before potentially we see, an injury here or there. So those are my two picks. I love them. I think they're good. We'll obviously keep track. I mean, let's be honest. Any bet anyone makes that they personally think is good. So we'll have to see it play out tonight. But I'm excited. We'll revisit it. We'll come back next week. What went wrong with the bets? What went right? Did they hit? And ultimately, that's going to conclude the first ever episode of the Full Court Breakdown podcast. This was honestly amazing. I enjoyed it. Just overall a great opportunity to talk. And once again, the Full Court Breakdown on TikTok. Give it a follow. Full Court Breakdown. Space between full and court. If you love basketball, stick around. Keep enjoying the content. And yeah, thank you once again. I'm Zach LeBlanc. We'll be back next week to talk more about the NBA. See what happens in the first opening week. But I hope everyone enjoys their night. And yeah, let's see. We'll see if the Celtics can get a win. Thank you.